I never thought I'd hear my own daughter questioning my sanity to take control of my house. Not a fight, not an argument, paperwork, court dates, quiet voices. If you've ever faced betrayal inside your own family, tell your story in the comments. Emily's voice carried from the living room sharp and controlled the way she sounded when she wanted to be taken seriously. She wasn't speaking to me. That part landed first. "He's been getting confused," she said. A pause followed. Then another voice answered, low and indistinct. "I'm worried it's no longer safe for him to manage assets on his own. Those weren't words people use in family conversations. They belonged to forms and courtrooms." She kept going. "There's a legal process. Guardianship. Temporary at first. It's meant to protect property. Property. Not me." The sentence structure stayed clean. No hesitation. No searching for language. She spoke as if she'd rehearsed it, smoothing each phrase before letting it out. Whoever she was talking to murmured again. Emily responded immediately, as if she'd anticipated the question. "Yes, medical evaluations can be arranged." A chair scraped lightly. Papers shifted. The conversation moved forward, brisk and efficient. I stood a few steps away, hand still on the doorframe, waiting for something that never came. No mention of love, no uncertainty, just procedure. That was enough. I turned back down the hallway and picked up my keys from the counter. The front door closed behind me without effort. The engine started. Traffic moved the same as it always did. Later that afternoon, a thick envelope waited in the mailbox. Official seal. Cook County. The return address confirmed what I already knew. The notice stated that a petition had been filed. Guardianship of person and estate. My name printed cleanly in black ink. The document listed upcoming dates, required appearances, and a reference number. No adjectives, no opinions, just steps. Emily arrived an hour later. She carried a grocery bag and set it on the counter. Apples rolled out. She gathered them one by one, placing them back with care. "I stopped by the store," she said. "There was a sale." A question followed about dinner plans. Another about whether I'd scheduled my dental appointment yet. She spoke easily, filling the space with small talk, never touching the envelope resting beside the mail. The bag rustled as she unpacked. She wiped the counter with a paper towel, leaving nothing behind. I answered where needed. Short responses. Neutral tone. The clock ticked forward. She glanced at it once, then checked her phone. "Long day," she said. A smile appeared, briefly practiced and polite. The visit ended without friction. Shoes slipped on near the door. Keys jingled. A reminder floated back over her shoulder. "Don't forget to drink water." Her car pulled away. The house settled back into its usual rhythm. The envelope waited where it had been left. I picked it up again and read through every line. The language didn't accuse, but it didn't ask either. Authority sat between the margins. One paragraph explained that certain decisions could be reassigned pending evaluation. Another outlined who would speak on my behalf. The last page listed my rights in small print. I folded the notice carefully and placed it back in the envelope. The action felt procedural, like filing a receipt or logging a work order. Dinner could wait. There were dates to mark calls that would come, and a process already moving without my consent. The phone rang before breakfast. A number from the bank flashed across the screen. "Mr. Turner," the woman said at voice. "Careful, we need to verify a few things regarding your accounts." Verification turned into a list of questions. Who handled long-term decisions? Whether anyone had contacted them on my behalf. She thanked me for my time and ended the call without warmth. 10 minutes later, another number came through. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in months. "Emily mentioned you've been under a lot of stress," he said. "Did she?" I replied. The conversation stalled. He wished me well and promised to call again soon. He didn't. A voicemail followed from a medical office I recognized. They asked to confirm records releases and appointment histories. The message used the word requested, not ordered, but the meaning landed the same. Paperwork spread across the kitchen table by mid-morning. Bills, statements, the court notice. I stacked them by category and set a legal pad next to the pile. Tasks replaced reaction. Calls went on speaker while forms filled out. Work didn't stop. A client needed a site assessment finalized. Emails waited. I drove across town, completed the inspection, signed off on measurements. Nothing there hinted at confusion or decline. Still, one contact asked twice whether I was feeling all right. The second bank call arrived before lunch. This time the tone carried distance. Due to a pending legal matter, the man explained we're obligated to flag certain transactions. Flag meant delay. Delay meant more questions. That afternoon, I walked into Laura Bennett's office with the envelope under my arm. She glanced at the return address and nodded. "Let's see what they filed," she said. The waiting area held outdated magazines and a water cooler that hummed too loudly. Laura motioned me into her office and closed the door. She read in full marking sections with a pen. Pages shifted. Notes formed in the margins. "This wasn't rushed," she said at last. "How can you tell the structure? The supporting documents? Someone spent time preparing this." She explained the process without pause. Evaluations, hearings, temporary restrictions, potential outcomes. Each step came with a date or a condition. "Can it be stopped?" "It can be challenged," she replied. "That takes evidence and timing." Emily's name appeared often. Laura didn't comment on it. As I stood to leave, Laura added one more thing. "From now on, don't respond directly to anything related to this. Calls, messages, visits, forward everything here." The drive home felt longer than usual. Traffic slowed without explanation. A text buzzed before I reached the driveway. "Emily? Are you okay, Emily? I've been worried." Emily. "This is all just to help." Another message arrived seconds later. "Emily. Please call me." I didn't. The phone kept lighting up through the afternoon. Missed calls stacked. Voicemails followed. Her tone shifted with each one. "I just want to make sure you're safe. You know I wouldn't do anything to hurt you. They told me this was the right way." By early evening, the words blurred together. I forwarded every message to Laura without comment. Emily stopped by the next day. She stood near the counter, phone in hand. "You didn't answer," she said. "I was busy." She pressed her lips together, then softened her voice. "You don't have to go through this alone." I pointed to the envelope on the table. "You started something," I said. Her shoulders rose and fell. "I didn't start anything. I followed advice." "Advice?" The word hung there. She reached for her phone again. "I should go," she said. That night, an email from Laura arrived with attachments and a short note. The court had set an evaluation date. Location listed. Time assigned. Attendance required. The following days fell into pattern. More calls, fewer answers. A neighbor asked if everything was all right after seeing an unfamiliar car near the house. Another acquaintance sent a message saying he hoped things worked out. Work adjusted. Meetings moved. A project was reassigned just in case. Laura checked in twice each time to confirm another step. She asked for records. I delivered copies. She filed responses. Emily tried once more by text. "Emily, I'm scared for you." The message went unanswered. It joined the rest in Laura's inbox. On Friday, I added the evaluation appointment to the calendar hanging near the fridge. The pen paused before the final stroke. The date stayed where it was. The phone buzzed again, ignored this time as the ink dried, and the next week took shape around it. The clinic lobby handled paperwork the way courts do, efficient, detached, uninterested in context. A clipboard slid across the counter with a pen attached by a short chain. "Please fill out the highlighted sections," the receptionist said. Questions followed a familiar pattern. Name, address, date of birth, emergency contact. The last line listed Emily's name already typed in. I crossed it out and wrote Laura Bennett instead. The receptionist glanced at it, nodded once, and took the form back without comment. The evaluation took less than an hour. A physician asked about daily routines, medications, finances, simple prompts, straight answers. He checked boxes, asked me to count backward, then closed the folder. "You'll hear from the court," he said. That was it. Back in the parking lot, the phone buzzed with a message from Laura. "Call me when you're done." Her office didn't waste time on pleasantries. "Something doesn't line up," she said after listening to a brief summary. "What kind of something?" Records submitted with the petition. Dates are off. One report references a visit that never happened. She forwarded copies. The discrepancies were small, technical enough to slip past anyone not looking closely. Laura was looking closely. "I'll request the originals," she said. "Meanwhile, I want you to think about who's been contacting providers on your behalf." A detail surfaced an hour later. While collecting a release form at the clinic, an administrative assistant leaned over the counter and lowered her voice. "Your daughter called here a few times," she said. "About what process questions, what evaluations involved, how reports are formatted." The assistant shrugged, already moving on to the next task. No accusation, no concern, just information offered casually as if discussing office hours. The drive home passed without interruption. Traffic lights changed on schedule. A delivery truck blocked one lane. Normal obstacles. That evening, the security system sent a notification reminding me storage space was nearing capacity. Routine maintenance. I opened the console and began sorting clips by date. Most recordings showed nothing worth keeping. The front porch, the driveway, empty rooms. Then one file stopped the scroll. Emily stood in the living room phone propped against a stack of books. She wasn't speaking to anyone. Her posture stayed upright, focused. "My father is no longer able to manage his affairs," she said, then stopped. She frowned, adjusted the phone, and started again. "My father has shown increasing signs of confusion." Another pause. A breath. The sentence changed slightly the third time. Cleaner. More precise. She repeated phrases used in the petition, legal language practiced aloud, tested for sound. Between takes, she rubbed her temples, checked notes on the phone, then continued. No one else appeared in the frame. The house was otherwise empty. The timestamp placed it 2 weeks before the filing. I copied the clip to a separate drive and labeled it with the date. No edits, no commentary, just a clean transfer. The phone rang while the file finished saving. "Have you gotten a hearing date yet?" Emily asked. "That information goes through my attorney," I said. "I'm just trying to stay informed." Her voice tightened, then softened again. "They told me this could drag out if you don't cooperate." "I am cooperating," I said, "through proper channels." Silence stretched, broken only by her exhale. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "I'm not doing anything," I replied. "The court is." The call ended without goodbye. Messages followed over the next few days. Questions disguised as concern. Reminders about deadlines she claimed to know nothing about. Each one forwarded to Laura unopened. Laura called back after reviewing the video. "This matters," she said. "Is it enough? It's evidence of intent. Preparation. That changes how the court looks at everything." She didn't ask permission to keep a copy. I sent it anyway. More documents arrived from the other side, supplemental filings, updated statements. The pace increased, deadlines tightened. Emily stopped asking how I was doing and started asking what I planned to do next. The notice arrived by email first, then by mail. Temporary restrictions. Limited authority. Pending review. The language stayed neutral, but the effect didn't. A call from the bank confirmed it an hour later. Certain transactions tied to the property will require additional approval, the representative said. How long? Until the court issues a final determination. The line went dead after a scripted apology. That afternoon, a payment for routine maintenance failed. Another attempt produced the same result. The account still showed funds, just no permission to move them. A message popped up on the screen suggesting I contact a representative. I didn't bother. Laura already had the notice. Emily showed up 2 days later, not alone this time. A man followed her in mid-40s, well-dressed, carrying a leather portfolio. She introduced him as a family advisor. We wanted to talk through some options, she said. The advisor took the seat across from me, without waiting to be offered one. There are ways to make this easier, he said. For who? For everyone. Emily answered quickly. The proposal came out in parts: temporary cooperation, voluntary oversight, fewer hearings, less stress. The advisor spoke in calm sentences, careful not to promise outcomes. Emily watched my face while he talked. This doesn't have to turn into a fight, she said. I didn't start a fight, I replied. The advisor closed his folder. Sometimes stepping back is the responsible choice, he said. Laura's voice echoed from memory, steady and unembellished. Evidence and timing. I'll discuss anything through my attorney, I said. Emily's jaw tightened. The advisor stood and nodded, already done with the conversation. Outside, Emily lingered by the door. You're making this harder than it needs to be, she said. I'm following the process, so am I. The door closed behind her before I answered. Laura called that evening. They're pushing for a settlement, she said. Is that bad? It means they think they can outlast us. She explained the situation without softening it. Temporary orders had weight. Courts preferred stability. The longer the case dragged on, the more those restrictions felt permanent. Without clear proof of bad faith, she said the balance tips against you. Plans unraveled quickly after that. A trip I'd scheduled months earlier had to be canceled. A contractor asked for payment up front, citing the flagged account. A client paused a project until things settled. Every delay carried a reason. None of them asked how it felt. The calendar filled with new dates. Calls replaced meetings. Forms replaced conversations. Each step demanded attention before the next arrived. Emily's messages shifted tone. They're concerned about your resistance. This could reflect badly if you keep pushing. I'm trying to protect you. No reply went back. Everything moved through Laura. By the end of the week, another notice landed. The evaluation results would be reviewed alongside additional submissions from the petitioner. Timeframes shortened. Deadlines compressed. Laura didn't sugarcoat it. We're losing ground, she said. What do? We prepare for escalation. Preparation meant gathering anything that showed intent pattern or manipulation. Not impressions, not feelings, documentation. The security footage sat in the desk drawer where it had been placed days earlier. I hadn't touched it since. A message from Emily came through while sorting paperwork. Emily, they're asking if you'll agree to temporary supervision. The phone stayed face down. Dinner went cold. The house ran on habit. Trash went out. Lights turned off. Mail stacked by the door. Laura called again later than usual. They filed supplemental statements, she said. What changed? Nothing substantial. That's the point. She paused before continuing. If we don't counter soon, the court may extend the restrictions. Silence stretched between us, filled only by the hum of the line. There is one piece we haven't used, she added. And if we do, it changes the tone of the case. The footage waited. Clean, unedited, timestamp intact. I didn't answer right away. Outside, a car passed headlights sweeping briefly across the driveway. Somewhere down the block, a door closed. Ordinary sounds carried on without regard for court schedules or legal leverage. Deadlines collapsed toward each other. What had been spaced over weeks now landed in clusters, requests for updated statements, revised disclosures, confirmations that were somehow urgent and redundant at the same time. Each email carried a clock without showing one. The bank followed with another notice. Account access remained limited. A request to release funds for routine expenses sat under review. The phrase repeated across screens and forms, polite and unmoved by explanation. Court dates filled the calendar. Laura adjusted her schedule twice in one day, moving one hearing forward another back, neither change offering relief. Emily filled the gaps. Relatives called with careful voices. "Your daughter's worried," an aunt said. "She thinks you're overwhelmed." A former colleague sent a brief message suggesting I take time to rest. Another stopped responding altogether. Conversations shortened, then faded. No one accused me of anything directly. Distance did the work. Laura forwarded a screenshot Emily had sent to a cousin. It outlined concerns, decline, risk, a need for intervention. The tone sounded composed, almost professional. "That's part of the pressure," Laura said. "People hear one version often enough it becomes the default." Paperwork spread again across the table. This time it wasn't sorting, but cross-checking. Dates, names, patterns, certain moments lined up too cleanly to ignore. Emily asking for copies of the house deed just to be organized. Emily offering to drive to a doctor's appointment I'd managed alone for years. Emily suggesting I sign a medical release in case of emergencies. Each instance had felt small at the time. Helpful even. No argument followed. No boundary drawn. The assumption had been that concern didn't need resistance. The phone rang while reviewing an affidavit. Emily's name lit up the screen. "Why won't you talk to me?" she asked. "You have an attorney," I said. "So do you." Her voice carried strain, now less polished than before. "They're asking why you won't cooperate," she said. "I am cooperating. Not like this." A pause followed, then a softer approach. "I don't recognize you anymore." The call ended without response. Laura called soon after. They submitted additional character statements, she said. From who friends? Extended family? People repeating what they've been told? None of it alleged harm. None of it claimed abuse. The narrative stayed focused on concern. Protection. Prevention. That makes it harder, Laura added. Because it sounds reasonable. That night the desk drawer opened again. The drive sat where it had been left. The label faced up. The timestamp didn't change. The footage played without sound at first. Emily rehearsing, adjusting phrasing, starting over when a sentence didn't land the way she wanted. No anger, no tears, just preparation. Sound came on. The words matched the petition almost exactly. A knock came at the door. A neighbor dropping off misdelivered mail. Small talk followed, careful and brief. "Hope everything's okay," he said. "Working through it," I replied. The door closed. The drive went back into the drawer. Another email from Laura arrived before midnight. "They're asking the court to extend the temporary orders," she wrote. "We need to respond." Morning brought more calls. One from a contractor asking whether payment would clear. Another from a clerk confirming receipt of documents already sent twice. Emily tried again, this time in person. She stood on the porch, arms folded, eyes scanning my face. "You don't look well," she said. "I look the same." Her breath hitched. She pressed on. "This is spiraling," she said. "If you'd just agree to supervision for now." The word came out flat. She stepped back. "They'll think you're hiding something." "I'm not." Her voice dropped. "Then why fight so hard?" The question stayed unanswered. She left without another word. By afternoon, Laura's office asked for a decision. Not in theory, not eventually. Now. If we introduce the video, she said, the tone shifts. It stops being about concern and becomes about intent, and if we don't, they'll keep tightening the frame. Silence settled between us. No advice followed. The choice remained mine. The legal pad filled with crossed-out notes. Calls went unanswered. Emails stayed open without replies. Evening brought another message from Emily, shorter than the rest. "Emily, please don't do this." The drive came out of the drawer, the file copied again, this time to Laura's secure portal. No message attached, no explanation offered. The upload bar moved steadily across the screen. Dinner stayed untouched. The house ran on routine. Trash out, lights off, alarm set. The phone rang once more, this time Laura. "I got it," she said. "Okay." Nothing else needed saying. The call ended. The drive returned to the drawer lighter, now its purpose reassigned. Laura didn't speak while the video played. She watched straight through, hands folded on the desk, eyes steady. Emily's voice filled the room, measured and precise, stopping and restarting until the phrasing landed the way she wanted. "My father is no longer capable of managing his affairs." Pause. Rewind. Try again. Laura reached for the remote only after the screen went dark. "This can be entered," she said. "Will it matter?" "It changes the frame. But it won't be gentle." She explained the conditions. Chain of custody, authentication, context. The court wouldn't care how it felt to watch. It would care when it was recorded and why. And once it's introduced, she added, there's no dialing it back. A courier dropped off a new packet that afternoon. More filings from Emily's side. Supplemental statements, updated summaries. The cover letter emphasized urgency, requested expedited review. Another envelope followed the next day. This one came from a different firm. "Your daughter has authorized us to explore alternative resolutions," the letter read. "Confidential settlement discussions may avoid unnecessary strain." Laura skimmed it once. "They want this handled quietly," she said. "Why now?" "Because they're guessing what we have." She drafted a short response, declining any private negotiation. No explanation offered. The pushback continued. Emily's advisor called twice. Messages went unanswered. A formal email arrived suggesting mediation before irreparable harm occurred. The word harm appeared often. It never named what kind. Laura kept working. She requested original medical records directly from providers. Some arrived quickly. Others took reminders. Dates didn't always match what had been submitted with the petition. Notes appeared selectively quoted. Entire visits went missing. Witness statements raised more questions. Timelines overlapped in ways they shouldn't. One account described a conversation that never happened. Another placed Emily in a room she hadn't entered that day. Sloppy Laura said. Or rushed. Either way, cracks showed. Emily tried to reach me once more. "This is getting out of hand," she said when the call connected. "You hired people," I replied. "So did you." Her voice sharpened. "They're telling me this could backfire." "On who?" "On everyone." Silence followed. The line stayed open. I ended the call. Laura forwarded a notice from the court later that evening. The final hearing date had been set. No extensions, no delays. All submissions due within the week. "That's it," she said over the phone. "Are we ready? We're prepared." Those aren't the same thing. Preparation meant ordering exhibits, labeling files, anticipating objections. Laura walked through possible responses without dramatics. They'll argue concern, she said. We'll show planning. Emily's filings slowed after that. The volume dropped, replaced by precision. Fewer documents, sharper language. The advisor's firm sent one last letter reminding us of the option to settle. Laura placed it in the case file without comment. Days filled with logistics, not strategy sessions. Logistics, printing, verifying timestamps, confirming witnesses would be available if called. The video stayed sealed, marked, and cataloged. No edits, no enhancements. The raw file stood on its own. Emily stopped reaching out directly. Messages went through her attorney instead. Their tone stayed formal, detached, stripped of emotion. One afternoon, Laura called with an update. They're disputing the relevance of the recording, she said. On what grounds they're claiming it's a misunderstanding. Practice for advocacy, not deception. And that's why we don't argue it now. We show it. The bank lifted one restriction and tightened another. Partial access restored. Additional approvals required. The system adjusted incrementally, indifferent to consistency. I canceled another obligation. A friend asked if things were improving. I said the schedule had changed. The night before filings closed, Laura sent one final message. All material submitted, she wrote. No further changes allowed. The calendar held the date in thick ink. The time sat beneath it, fixed. Emily's name appeared once more on the phone screen. No message followed when the call went unanswered. Morning arrived without ceremony. Coffee brewed. Mail landed on the porch. Routine held. Laura called mid-morning. They confirmed receipt, she said. We're locked in. Nothing else followed. No reassurance, no warning. The courthouse moved people through security without comment. Belts off. Phones surrendered. Shoes back on. The hallway outside the courtroom filled with low conversation and the rustle of paper. Names were called. Doors opened and closed on schedule. Emily sat 2 rows ahead, shoulders squared, hands folded. Her attorney leaned close, whispering once, then straightening. She didn't turn around. Laura set our files on the table and checked the exhibit list. No small talk, no reminders. Everything that needed saying had already been said. The clerk called the case. We stood. The judge took the bench. Formalities followed, each one brief and unadorned. Emily's attorney went first. The presentation followed the same structure I'd seen in the filings. Concern for an aging parent. Inconsistencies in decision-making. A desire to prevent harm before it occurred. Emily spoke when prompted, voice steady. I love my father, she said. I've noticed changes. I didn't feel I had another option. Her eyes glistened at the right moments. She dabbed once at the corner, then continued. The tone never wavered. The judge nodded, made notes, and turned to Laura. Laura stood without hesitation. We're not disputing that Ms. Turner filed a petition, she said. We're disputing why. She walked through the record step by step. Dates that didn't align, medical summaries that omitted visits, statements attributed to witnesses who hadn't been present. Each point landed, then moved on. Emily's attorney objected twice. Both objections were noted and overruled. Laura requested permission to introduce an additional exhibit. The clerk marked it. The judge asked one question. Is this authenticated? Yes, Your Honor. The screen at the front of the room came on. The video loaded. Emily shifted in her seat as her own voice filled the space. My father is no longer capable of managing his affairs. The phrase repeated, stopped, rephrased, tried again. The timestamp remained visible. No commentary accompanied it. Murmurs spread, then died down. The judge leaned forward slightly. Emily's attorney rose. This is a misunderstanding. Sit down. the judge said. The video continued, notes checked, words adjusted, preparation methodical and unguarded. Emily stood abruptly. "That's not Ms. Turner," the judge said. "You will remain seated." Her hands shook now. The composed posture slipped. She glanced toward her attorney, then back at the bench. "I was advised to practice," she said. "By whom, my counsel?" Her attorney cleared his throat. "That statement requires clarification," he said. The judge raised a hand. "We'll get to that." Laura returned to the podium. "The recording predates the filing by 2 weeks," she said. "It mirrors the petition language nearly verbatim. This was not concern forming in real time. This was preparation." Emily spoke again without waiting. "You don't understand what it's like, Miss Turner," the judge said, sharper now. The courtroom held still. The judge asked for the file to be forwarded. Pages turned. A quiet exchange followed between the bench and the clerk. "I'm ordering a recess," the judge said. "This matter is being referred for further review." Emily's attorney objected. The judge cut him off. "There are indicators here that go beyond family dispute," the judge said. "This court will not proceed until those are addressed." Emily sank back into her chair. Her earlier composure didn't return. She whispered something to her attorney, who no longer leaned toward her. The clerk announced the adjournment. People stood. Chairs scraped. Conversations resumed louder, now edged with speculation. Laura gathered the files without looking at Emily. Outside the courtroom, the judge's assistant approached Laura and spoke briefly. Laura nodded once. "Civil fraud review," Laura said to me after. "That's the referral." Emily passed us in the hall, eyes fixed ahead. Her attorney trailed behind, already on the phone. I didn't stop. No words followed. No acknowledgement passed between us. The elevator doors closed. The descent felt longer than the ride up. When the doors opened, Laura checked her watch. "I'll be in touch," she said. "Thank you." She headed toward her office. I stepped outside, phone retrieved from the security desk belt, fastened without thinking. The final notice arrived without ceremony. No hearing, no appearance required. Just a stamped decision uploaded to the court portal and mailed the same afternoon. The petition for guardianship was denied. A separate page outlined next steps. Referral accepted. Investigation pending. Language tightened where it mattered. Emily's name appeared again, this time paired with terms like misrepresentation and material omission. A temporary order followed, brief and direct. She was barred from accessing or influencing any account property or legal instrument connected to me. Laura called an hour later. "It's done," she said. "For now, for this court. The rest moves on its own." No congratulations followed. None were needed. Banks reversed the flags in stages. First one account, then another. A supervisor confirmed restored authority over the property. Forms replaced forms. Signatures followed signatures. The system unwound itself methodically, as if correcting a clerical error rather than a personal breach. Emily didn't reach out. No apology arrived through counsel. No explanation was offered. The distance stayed intact, reinforced by paperwork and silence. Work resumed at the pace it had before. A client asked if a delayed project could move forward. A site visit landed back on the calendar. Tools returned to the truck. Measurements replaced meetings. Neighbors waved again. Conversations returned to weather and schedules. No one mentioned court. Laura sent a final invoice and a short note. "Call if anything resurfaces." It didn't. One afternoon, a clerk from the assessor's office called to confirm updated records. Another from the bank asked whether a previous power of attorney should be voided permanently. "Yes," I said. "Understood," she replied. The house held fewer papers by the end of the week. Old folders went into a box. Copies were shredded. The envelope from Cook County stayed intact until the last document cleared, then joined the rest. Emily's spare key remained on the hook for a day before being dropped into the junk drawer. It stayed there unused. Saturday came with no court deadlines attached to it. Coffee brewed, a bag packed lightly. The truck filled up at the station on the corner. At the outfitter, a clerk scanned an ID and asked whether this was a first booking. "Delayed," I said. He printed the confirmation and slid it across the counter. The dates fit neatly into the space that had been cleared. Back home, the door locked with its usual resistance. The alarm set without issue. The drawer in the desk stayed shut. Nothing needed to be taken along from the case. No reminders, no records. The system held what it required. The driveway opened onto the street. Traffic moved as expected. A school bus stopped 2 blocks down. Someone jogged past with earbuds and unaware of anything beyond pace and distance. The route out of town stayed familiar. Mile markers passed. Radio stayed off. A message from Laura came through as the city thinned behind me. All accounts confirmed. "You're clear." The phone went back into the console. The weekend stretched ahead without a plan beyond arrival. The booking confirmation sat folded in the glove compartment. Nothing else competed for attention. At a red light near the highway entrance, another car pulled alongside. A woman glanced over, then back to the road. The light changed. Acceleration followed naturally. By the time the road narrowed, the house had receded into habit. The case had settled into record. What remained fit into the space left behind not by force, but by release. The drive continued without interruption.